Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf, Kesubos Tes Zayin. We begin a brand new parak on Tes Vav Amud Beis, starting from the Mishnah, which is 8 lines from the bottom of the Amud. Ha'isha shenis armla, oy shenis garsha, an isha became an almana after her husband's passing. She's an almana, or Nizgarsha, she was divorced and she's claiming her ksuba payment. So in the case of the almana, she's speaking to the yarushim. In the case of a grusha, she confronts her former husband and she wants to get full payment. Why? She claims besula nisasani. In the case of a grusha, she's confronting him directly. You married me as a besula. Or in the case of the almana, samageris besula. Nisesi, I was married a besula. I deserve a full ksuba of 200 zuz. And he disagrees. He says, no, laiki, not necessarily. Ella almana nesasach. Actually, you are an almana upon marriage, in which case you're only deserving of half payment, 100 zuz. Who's right? She has to prove her case. If Adam step forward and testify about unique phenomena that they witnessed during this wedding, which was indicative of her besula status, for instance, yatzas bihinuma, she left her parents' home with a special type of veil or some type of canopy, which was unique to a besula, or they saw the hair of the isha spread out, and again indicative of a besula, ksubos masayim. In this case, she has proven her case, supported her claim that she was a ksuba, besula upon marriage, in which case her ksuba is meant to be paid in full. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, he adds another sign, af chiluk kloyos ra'ya. They used to hand out some sweets. In those days, sweets were of the natural variety. They handed out kloyos, roasted grain, roasted kernels. Rashi says they stay sweet when they're roasted in their kernel state. And in any case, this was something done only by a besula. So chila kloyos, handing out of kloyos, is also a ra'aya that she was a besula. Continues the Mishnah. So although we have a whole parak with many cases where she had a bari, she claimed one thing, he disagrees. Well, we had machlokes between Rabbi Gamliel, who says she is ne'eman because of her bari, her absolute claim, and Rabbi Yeshua disagreed. But, says the Gemara, there's one case where Rabbi Yeshua would agree that he is believed. That the claimant, the one who's being claimed, he is believed. So although Rabbi Yeshua maintains that the isha is not ne'eman to take money out of the husband, but in this case, a fellow will be ne'eman to keep to get the money. Look, Reuben walks over to Shimon. He says, look, Sadazu shalavicha hoisa. You're meant to know that this field here, in front of us, the one that I'm occupying, happened to have belonged to your father. Listen to this. Unbeknownst to you, this was your father's field. And actually, I purchased this field from him. So he's pretty much acknowledging guilt in a way, because he's saying, look, this used to be your family's estate. But then he follows up by saying, it was purchased by myself. Is he ne'eman? Is he ne'eman that it's his? Shehu ne'eman, in this case, he's believed. He's claiming that he owns the field, and we believe him. Why? What do you mean? How can you trust a person's claim when it comes to monetary issues? You see, although he is acknowledging that this field used to belong to the other fellow's family, but the same mouth meaning the expression, the peh that was asa that created the issue to begin with, his acknowledgement that this was formerly part of the other fellow's family's estate, the same mouth, the same expression, the same person, followed through with an explanation. I purchased it from him. So we have to Either take the entire account, in its entirety, or disregard the entire statement. If you believe it all the way. Yeah, it used to be his, but then I bought it. In this case, certainly, he's believed and considered the owner of this property. But let's say there were Edom that knew that this field belonged to Shimon's father, in which case you don't need Reuven's acknowledgement to produce that fact. So we know it used to belong to Shimon's father, but Reuven claims that he purchased it. He says, look, I bought it from him. In this case, he's not Neman unless he proves it. Because you can't just get up and say, this field belongs to me. And as much as you're certain and you're positive and you're confident in your claim, that's not enough to win a court case. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. They have a disagreement. The Isha says, look, I deserve a full ksuba. I was a besula when you married me. He disagrees. So what's the maskana? If there are Edom, she brings support to her claim. By way of Edom who testify that she was a besula, then fine, we accept her word. Tamadika Edom, that's only because Edom showed up. Haleka Edom, but otherwise, if there are no Edom, it's just a question of believing him or believing her. Baal Mehemen, we trust the husband. He only has to pay a partial ksuba. Lema Tanan Stama, perhaps the Stam, the anonymous Mishnah here, is in line with whom? Rabbi Gamliel, it's not following Rabbi Gamliel's shita. Why? Rabbi Gamliel, because according to him, Ha'amar, hasn't he told us all along throughout the first parak, Ihi me'emna, that when it's him against her, she is believed. Big difference, says the Gemara. How could you compare the two cases? Afilu Teimu Rabbi Gamliel, our Mishnah can certainly be consistent even with Rabbi Gamliel. There's a big difference between the two cases. Ad kan like Amar Rabbi Gamliel Hasam. It's only over there that he maintains that the Isha is Neman. El bebari v'shema, when you have a definite claim coming from the Isha. And a Shema, maybe, on the side of the husband. Rabbi Gamliel says, Bari v'shema, Bari Adaf, Bari wins, Bari prevails, especially because she has a chazaka of cheskas kashrus and a cheskas besula. The bottom line is, all that is good when it's supporting a definite claim. Then she wins. But in our case, they're both on equal turf. It's a balanced equation. Bari ubari loyamar. He's pretty confident about his claim, and so is she. It's Bari against the Bari. Why in the world would you give her more credibility than him? Bari v'shema Bari, but not a Bari against a Bari. So this Mishnah works even with Rabbi Gamliel. But he's not chayiv to pay because he's claiming that she was not a besul. The one who asked us kasha, who figured that our Mishnah would not work with Rabbi Gamliel, my Karla, what was he thinking? Bari, well, certainly in this case it's so different. It's Bari against the Bari. Answers the Gemara, Kiva the Reiv Noshim. Because for the most part, women besulas nisis marry as a besula. That's just the prevalent phenomena. So therefore, when it's a question as per her status upon marriage, most likely she was a besula. There's a Reiv in her favor. Ki Bari v'Shem Adami. Perhaps this would weaken his position. It would make the arrows point in her direction, put her in the right, and weaken his claim. So although he's yelling, "No, I'm a Bari, she was not a Basula," perhaps we question his account, and it would be considered like a Bari against his Shema, and she would win. Ki Bari v'Shema Dami. That would be the Havamina. That was the Kasha here. Well, why isn't she believed? It's Bari v'Shema. The answer is no. At the end of the day, he's claiming an absolute claim, and you can't discount it, and therefore he's patur. It seems indeed probable that Rabbi Gamliel would agree in this case that husband is believed. But the Tani Sefer. Could look at the next part of the Mishnah. Umayda Rabbi Yeshua agrees. He's Maida. He concedes in the case of the field, etc. Who is he conceding to? Who is he speaking to? Who is he directing his words at? This is fully understandable. If Ayri Rabbi Gamliel b'moide, if Rabbi Gamliel was in line with the first part of the Mishnah, meaning the Mishnah was following Rabbi Gamliel's shita as well, he agrees in this case. It's so different because it's a bari against her bari, right? So Rabbi Gamliel would agree that he is Naaman in this case. Shaper, then it makes sense to turn around and say, well, you, Rabbi Gamliel, agreed to me in the first case of the Mishnah, and I will agree to you in the next case. That, we accept that claim. Eli Amrusli Ayri Rabbi Gamliel b'moide. But if in fact the first part of the Mishnah is not following Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Gamliel is not subscribing to that halacha, he knows that no, the Isha is Naaman, right? So then we have a kasha. Rabbi Yeshua Leman Moide. Who's Rabbi Yeshua directing his words at? Rabbi Yeshua is Moide in the following case. Who is he Moide to? There's no. His adversary is not this. Is not part of the equation. There is no Rabbi Gamliel in this mission. Answers the Gemara. Mi savras Rabbi Yeshua. Ahai Pirkin Koi. Do you think Rabbi Yeshua is focusing on the halachas learned in today's parak? Amigu Koi. No. He's referring back to an old halacha pertaining to migu va'pirkin kamakoi, mentioned in the first parak, in the previous parak. So you're right. He isn't necessarily directing his words at the most recent halacha. Rather, he's referring back to a previously discussed case. A case discussed between himself and Rabbi Gamliel, in fact, right? A case involving migu, where Rabbi Gamliel says she's Naaman because she has a migu. She could have set up a better lie, and that lends credibility to what she's saying. Rabbi Yeshua disagrees there as well. So, going back to that case, would Rabbi Yeshua discounted the migu? Did not accept her claim? But here, says Rabbi Yeshua, in this case, where it's a pesha, asa pesha, that's a real, that really lends credence to his taina. He didn't have to put himself in bad light. Why did he have to acknowledge that the field belonged to that other fellow's father? The fact that he got himself involved in this whole discussion lends credence to his taina, to his claim. It leads us to believe that he, in fact, is being truthful. Ahai, which case is Rabbi Yeshua referring to? Meaning, let's go back to the previous parak and let's find the Mishnah, which is his point of reference. Is it on the Mishnah which says Haisum Uberes? The Isha was noticed to be a Uberes. And they ask her, who are you involved with? What's going on with this child? Who is he from? She responds, well, he's from an upstanding fellow. Don't worry about it. I'm not puzzled. My child is not puzzled. Do we trust her? Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Lezo, she's believed. She has a bari. She has a definite, certain taina. She's believed. Rabbi Shua, we can't rely on her words, and we have to question her status regarding marrying a kohen. Asks the Gemara, you're looking for a migu? Hasam my migu ika. In that case, there's no migu. She couldn't have denied the facts. She couldn't have said a better lie. Hare kresa ben shineh. This is an expression. We'll barish her stomach between the opening of the cavity. I mean to say, the evidence is right here in front of us, so there's no way of denying it. That's not a case of migu. So that's not a point of reference to our Mishnah, which discusses, a type of migu. Ella, rather on the next Mishnah. Ra'u medaberesim echad. This is actually the first part of that Mishnah of Muberes. They notice this unmarried woman conversing with somebody. And the Gemara two pshatim. Either it means she went into hiding with him, yichud, or she actually physically interacted with him. The question is, who is this fellow? What's he all about? Did he adversely affect her? Did he disable her from marrying a kohen? What's this fellow all about? Ish plain v'kohen. She responds, this fellow is a fine man, and I'm still okay to marry a kohen. Rabban Gamliel, Rabbi Lezo, we take her word as fact. She has a bari, she has a chazaka, go with it. Rabbi Shua, no, we can't live on her words, meaning we can't trust. There again, says the Gemara, there's no migu in the equation. Hasam, my migu iko. Since when is there a migu? She couldn't have denied the fact. Now, hanichal is Zeiri. You see, according to Zeiri's approach, the Amar who explained that the word medaberes means yichud. My medaberes, nister. She went into hiding with him. That's all what we saw. So now that we question her, we confront her, she could have wiggled out of it. Migu di baya amra leniv'alti. Instead of denying her physical interaction, she could have denied it. And she chose to acknowledge the fact. Right? So that's a migu. That leads us to believe her story. If she would have wanted to lie, she could have avoided the whole issue. She could have just said, well, it was just a yichud and no more. She acknowledged the fact. So that gives her ne'emanus, mehemna. That's why we believe her. So here we have a case of a migu. Okay, so you found a possible point of reference. A Mishnah in the previous parak with a halacha that involves migu. Elul Rav Asi the Amar medaberes niv elas. But according to Rav Asi, who interprets medaberes as simply just another way of describing, a dignified way of describing physical interaction. So we saw that happen. We have Adam. There's no way for her to deny it. My migu ika, where do we have migu? She couldn't have denied it. So where's the migu? So apparently, you're looking for a point of reference. Give me a case of migu. It's the following case. He marries her, discovers her as being a non-besula. So that's a fact. The question is just circumstance. When, how, who. So she says, mukas eitzani. It was removed artificially. I was struck by an instrument. They went to besulam. So I am deserving of ksuba. And he says, no, loiki. Actually not. I suspect worse. Elad rusas ishat, you had interaction with a man, you're a bu'ula. We believe her, we take her word. As fact, Rabbi Shua, we can't rely on her words. That's the Mishnah we learned back in the first parak. Now, how does migu come into the equation? How did migu come into play? Now we had two interpretations of that Mishnah. We had Rabbi Lezer, who learned that it's all a question of what happened. Rabbi Lezer says, the Isha says, I maintain it was mukas eitz, and at least I get something. Mukas eitz gets a half a ksuba. That's shitas rabbanon back in the first parak. Mukas eitz, for lack of besulam, you don't deserve full ksuba. You get partial pay. You get a mana. That's her claim. And here says, no, I suspect worse. I suspect you interacted with a man. You're a bula. I didn't know this was coming. This is a total surprise. Mekach tos, you get nothing. That was Rabbi Lezer's approach. Now, so Bishlam Rabbi Lezer, according to him, the Amar, who explained the Mishnah, that the disagreement revolves around the mana. She's claiming a mana because she's a mukas eitz, but like klum, and he says zero. It's a mekach tos. So according to this approach, we see migu here. Why? Migu di baya amra mukas eitz ani tachtecha. You see, she could have, instead of saying, I came into marriage as a mukas eitz, which allows her only to claim 100, she could claim better. If she would have wanted to misrepresent the facts, she could have said, look, I'm a mukas eitz, but it happened under your watch after engagement, and now I get full ksuba. The Islam assignment, she'll get 200. V'ka Amar, instead, she acknowledges the facts. V'ka Amar mi'ikar, and she says, look, you're right, I came into marriage as a non-besula, but I'm a mukas eitz. Right? No worse than that. But she's acknowledging that she's only entitled to partial payment because he married her in this fashion. And she acknowledges that it happened before engagement. The less lalamana, which only entitles her to 100. Mehemna. So in this case, the migu factor gives her credibility. So we found halacha, which associates with migu. According to the other approach of that Mishnah, which was Rabbi Yochanan's approach, the Amar b'Mosayim v'Mana, his approach was that The Isha is claiming Mukas Eitz, which entitles her to 200. This is Shitas Rab Meir. Mukas Eitz is not considered a downgraded Isha. She maintains her status. Since it wasn't by way of interaction with a man, it's not so different than a Basula. She's claiming, give me 200. And he's responding, no, maybe it was by way of interaction with a man. You're a Bula. I'll give you something. I'll give you 100. Umana. So it's a question of 200 or 100. So according to this pshat in the Mishnah, there is no migu at all. She couldn't have said anything better than she did. My migu ika. What could she have said differently? She already claimed the maximum. She said, look, I'm a mukas eitz. It doesn't matter when it happened, whether it happened before or after engagement. A mukas eitz is like a basula for all practical purposes, and that's what she's claiming. She couldn't have said anything better than that. So it doesn't relate to migu at all. So again, it doesn't present a point of reference to our Mishnah, which is trying to refer to a migu case discussed in the previous parak. Oh, Ella, rather here comes the final attempt. Our Mishnah is referring to the Mishnah of Hanoi says the Isha v'lei masla besul. He marries an Isha, discovers no besul. That's a fact. The question is circumstance. How? When? How? Who? Here he marries Misharastani Nasti. She acknowledges. She says, look, there was an oinus that occurred with me. Interaction with a man, but forcefully, right? Question is timing. When did it happen? She claims, sure, I was nanas. I'm puzzled to kuhuna, etc. Right? I was tainted, I was blemished. But too bad on you. Misharastani nanasti. It took place after you engaged me. And his field got flooded. It's a way of saying, it's your mazel, it's your loss. I deserve full payment, full 200 zuz. He disagrees. He says, actually, like, Ella actually erastich, perhaps it happened before we engaged, and now you misled me into thinking you're a besula. I give you nothing. What's the halacha? Rab and Gamliel, Rabbi Lezer, Oimrim, 9 minutes, we take her claim as fact because she has a bari against the Shema, right? Rabbi Shua Loy mipi anu chayin, we can't rely on her words, and he's potter. Now here we have a straight out migu. She didn't have to admit, she didn't have to acknowledge that she was affected by a man, which makes her puzzled to a kain, it puts her in bad light. She didn't have to say that. All she could have said was, I'm a mukasaitz. Look, if you want to suspect her of misrepresenting the facts, if you chayshish that she's lying, she could have presented a better lie. A lie that doesn't put her in such bad light. So that's migu. That leads us to believe that perhaps she is being truthful. The migu di boy amra mukaseitz tachtecha. Mukaseitz ani tachtecha. Instead of just simply saying, look, I'm not a basula, but I'll tell you why I'm a mukaseitz. And it happened, after engagement. The like apostla nafsha makuna, in which case she doesn't at all affect her status with reference to marrying a kohen in the future. Right? Would have been the best thing she could have said for herself if she wanted to lie. Vika Amr, instead, she acknowledged, nasti, I was involved in oinus, the kapasla nafsha makuna, which disables her from marrying a kohen in the future. This is your classic migu. And in fact, this is exactly why Rabbi Gamliel believes her. First of all, she's saying, Bari, I know for a fact this is what happened. It happened in this type of circumstance. Oinus, but it happened after engagement. Number two, if she would have wanted to lie, she could have lied better. She could have avoided the whole oinus situation, and gotten away with it. So that gives her ne'emanis. That's Rabbi Gamliel's shita. And Rabbi Shua over there disagrees. He says, migu, no migu, it's irrelevant. The fact is you're trying to be moitzi mum, trying to have him pay out the ksuba, you can't do that. That's the the old halacha, good old halacha, moitzi mechaver olav haraya. You want to extract money, prove your case. Right? That's the discussion we had back in that Mishnah on Daf Yud Beis. And that Mishnah is actually serving as a point of reference to Rabbi Yeshua's statement at the conclusion of our Mishnah. He says, look, in that case, I didn't go with the migu. I didn't. But here, it's a much stronger case. It's pesha asa pesha hitter. He's volunteering this information. Nobody confronted him. You won't go over to your friend and say, by the way, the house that I'm living in used to belong to your grandfather, purchased by me. Nobody asked you to make trouble for yourself. Apparently, there's some truth to what he's saying. V'ka'am Rabbi Yeshua, the Rabbi Gamliel. And in reference to that migu and that Mishnah over there, Rabbi Yeshua tells Rabbi Gamliel, by migu dohacha midin alach. The migu in our Mishnah by the field, which I purchased, in this case, you know what? I'll give you one. I'll agree with you on this one. There's a big difference between the two cases. Bahu migu dohasan poligna lavach. But in the other migu with the isha with the mukas, I disagree with you. And the Gemara asks, what's the difference? And the Gemara will explain the difference. Michti, let's analyze this. Hi migu, hi migu. This is a migu. This is a migu. Ma'ishna hi migu, ma'hai migu. What's the difference between one and the other? After all, they're both migu. Answer is very simple. Hacha ein shayr shachat lefanecha. This is a mashal. Right? There's no animal that was slaughtered in front of you. There's no reusa. There's no evidence. There's nothing to trigger a concern. He innocently walks over to his friend and says, by the way, I know you don't know anything about this, but this field used to belong to your father. Right? So he's totally volunteering this information. There's no shor shachat. The other fellow has no idea, has no reason to question anything, no reason to confront him. So we apply the concept of pesha asar peshita, the same expression that created the trouble, so to speak, rectify the concern as well. You have to take it all as one. It used to be his, but now it's mine. Awesome. But in the case of the isha, who's discovered to be a non-besula, that's clear evidence. That's reyus, so that triggers concerns. It's like I have a slaughtered ox in front of you. Who did it? Who shechted my ox? Let me go find him. This husband wants to know what's going on with his wife, who turned up to be a non-besula. He's running to Bezdin. He's pursuing her. He's confronting her. She's been confronted. She's against the wall. She has to respond. She has to defend herself. So in that case, perhaps migu can't apply. True. If she would have lied, she could have lied better. Who says she's thinking along those lines? And maybe just the opposite. Maybe she's so worked out that she knows that by doing herself in and avoiding the other, so to speak, better, more supportive claim, she's actually eliciting, a trust and confidence on behalf of the Bezdin. So maybe she's all worked out. Whatever it is, when a person's confronted, it's a totally different case, as where he just volunteers information on his own. So that's the bottom line. In the previous parak, we have a case of a migu where Gamliel says she's believed. Rishon disagrees. You can't use that migu to be moitzi mammon, but it all depends on the type of migu, how strong it is, how convincing it is. Pesha asa pesha hit. That's a convincing migu, which gives you ne'emanus. Okay, now we had a little discussion right in the beginning of the Gemara in reference to the first halacha in the Mishnah. She's an almana, a grusha. She claims, look, full payment. I was a psula. He says, no, you're only getting half. So if she has edim, that she was a psula, then she's good to go. She gets the full payment. Now the Gemara did tell us that there is a roiv, a majority element in her favor, because most women marry as psula. It's just the way it is. Asks the Gemara, the kivan the roiv nashim psulas nisis. If that is indeed true, for the most part, right? It's most likely the isha who marries is a psula. So why does she need edim to prove her position, to prove her claim that she was a psula? Kilayasu edim, even without edim. My havi. Even if she didn't produce edim, why can't she win the case? Roiv is in her favor. Amar Avina, Mishum deikal lemema. You can say, true, roiv nashim besulas nisis. For the most part, women marry as besulas. But remember, there's a small percentage. Otherwise, umiut almanis. Some of them are almanis. Now, v'kol hanises besula. Typically, an isha who marries as a besula, it creates fanfare and celebration. Yesh lo koil. Everybody knows about it. V'zu hoil ve'en lo koil. And this isha over here, who nobody seems to remember that she was a psula, Isra leruba. So this punches a hole in the rave. Typically an isha is a basula, but sure, typically a basula has a coil and she doesn't have a coil. So you can't use the rave in her favor. Asks the Gemara, well, let's flip it around. If that's a bona fide established fact that basula marries with fanfare, then evidently this isha is not a basula. Even if Edom come along and say she's a basula, how could you believe them? The facts on the ground prove otherwise. These Edom are false Edom. The Ritva explains, although you would assume that Edom are stronger than just koil. If you have a rumor out there, and Edom come and set it straight, the Edom are certainly of higher ne'emanus than just a plain rumor. But here, it's a lack of koil, says the Ritva. The fact is, nobody's speaking about this fact that this was her first marriage. Nobody remembers. There was no celebration. That's yells out to you. It's almost like a universally accepted, perception that she's not a basula, and that flies in the face of the Edom. It's almost like we know for a fact she's not a basula. So yeah, Edom, no Edom, they're valueless in the face of an established fact. Elama Ravina switches around a bit, which will address all these kashas. So, firstly, most women that marry are basulas. Okay, that's an established fact. Roiv hanisas basula yesh la koil. For the most part, basula has a koil. So instead of every single basula marrying with fanfare, for the most part, this fanfare, this celebration, it's a known, it's a known thing, but it's not necessarily absolute. V'zu hoil ve'en la koil is la ruba. Oh, now this isha, who doesn't seem to have a koil, nobody seems to remember what she was. So, the roiv, which points in the direction of a basula, right? Because most women marry basula. Most women that marry are in a state of basula. But at the same time, most basulas have a koil. She had no koil. So that sort of weakens the roiv factor. You can no longer use the roiv factor in her favor. Which roiv factor? That most women marry as a basula. Because here you see there's something wrong with this specific case. Because typically there's a koil, here there's no koil. So that sort of it questions the roiv. Maybe she's not really a basula. Maybe she's from the minority. Maybe she's from the almana. So once you have no roiv, she will not win the case unless she can absolutely prove it by way of two Edom who testify that she walked out with a hinuma, etc. All the various indicators of a basula. So yesh Edom she also be numa. If indeed she produces the Edom, she gets ksuba. She gets 200, even though she's not really producing a document. That's pretty obvious from the Mishnah. She has no shtar ksuba. Taisus points this out. If she has a ksuba, then let's take a look at the ksuba. Ksuba usually tells you what she is. But then it presents a whole new set of problems. Maybe she'll double charge. She'll produce Edom in this bezdin, v'gavya, and collect her ksuba without even showing a ksuba. And then she'll go and suddenly discover her ksuba and go to the other bezdin, b'hai bezdin, v'gavi bein, use the ksuba to collect again. Amar Ravo, Zesemeris, we learn from here, that we write receipts. This is really a whole sugi in Bava Basra. Do we write receipts or not? Let's say Reuven owes Shimon money, and Shimon can't locate his shtar, can't locate his loan document. Does Reuven have to pay up? Or can Reuven say, look, I'll wait until you produce the document. I don't want a receipt. What's wrong with a receipt? Because I lose a receipt, you'll come back and charge me again. That's a sugi in Bava Basra. But Ravo says, it seems from our Mishnah that we do write receipts. That's the only way to avoid double charging in this case. Right? The kasha was, she'll collect through Edom today and collect through Ksuba tomorrow. Answer, we issue a receipt. And once the husband gets that receipt, there's no double charging. Rav Papa Amar, no. Typically, we don't issue receipts. We're concerned about him losing the receipt. Our Mishnah, but Makom Shein Koisvin Ksuba Askina. We're speaking about a city where they don't write Ksuba. Rashi says they rely on the established Takana, the Trai Bezdin. We don't have to write out a Ksuba. So in this case, there's no chashash of her producing a Ksuba tomorrow. So you can allow her to collect her payment based on the Edim. Because the Masna Bryce. This discussion between Rabbi Vo, who proved that we issue receipts, Rabbi Papa says no, we don't. Some applied it to a brisa instead of our Mishnah. Applied it to a brisa, which says ibda ksubasa. She claims she lost her ksuba. Hitmino ksubasa, she hid it. Nisra ksubasa got burnt. Bottom line is we have no ksuba here, and she claims, look, I'm a basula. I get 200, and he says, no, nothing doing. You were an almana. So how can she prove her case? So there were certain minhagim, certain customs and practices which they did only when a basula married. Rakdu l'fanei, they danced in front of her. Sichel l'fanei, they did all kinds of some sort of to generate happiness, some kind of tricks. Heviru l'fanei koishal bsura, or they passed before her a glass of, Gemara says later means a cup filled with wine, which indicates that she's a psula, or a mapashal psulim, or some sort of material that they would use to prove the psul. In any case, all these were unique to the marriage of a besula. So if she has any edim that testify about any of these activities during the wedding, subasa masayim, that proves her case, and she gets 200. Okay, that's the price. V'leichosh, back to the same kasha. She doesn't have ksuba. She's using edim to collect 200. She'll double charge him. V'leichosh do a mapke edim b'hai bezdin. Maybe today she's producing edim in this bezdin, by bedin of agavia, and she's collecting her ksuba. V'ada mapkel ksuba, so by bedin of agavia, and tomorrow she'll produce her ksuba in the other bezdin and collect again. Amarabo, same terror, samaris. This proves to us that yes, kaisun shaver, we issue a receipt to the husband, and this way there's no double charging. Papa, but makim shein kaisun ksuba skina, and again we're speaking that there's no ksuba in this type of place. So since there was never a ksuba written, she'll never produce a ksuba and never double charge. What do you mean? The Brisa says she had a ksuba. The Brisa says she lost a ksuba. Apparently they wrote it. The Kesubos Ihu was speaking that this fellow decided to write her a ksuba. It wasn't common practice. He decided to write her a ksuba. Well, now back to square one, back to the kasha. So ultimately, mapkala, she'll produce the ksuba tomorrow. V'gav ba, and collect with it. So how could you issue payment to her today when she might turn around and double charge? Answers the Gemara, my ibda ksuvasa. What does ibda mean? Ibda bu'ur, we know that it was burnt. It was incinerated in fire. Yachi and a streifa, that's the same as the next case. It got burnt. Why the repetition? V'oid, another kasha, tzmina. Bryson says she actually, she hid it. Michael Amemar, how are you going to address that concern? V'su ibda lamali, again, why does that say ibda? Some take out this phrase in the Gemara. Bottom line is, if this fellow decided to give his wife a ksuba, and she's just claiming that she lost it, how can you be confident that she's not going to, ksuba will not resurface and won't be used again? Ella, rather, the Brisa means like this. Call ibda. The Brisa starts by saying, if she claims that it was lost, that's it. She has to wait until she produces the ksuba ki tmina. It is treated as though she was a tmina, but fanenu dami, she hid it in front of us and she's just avoiding the ksuba. And we're concerned that she might produce it tomorrow and collect it again. So claiming lost is not really enough for her to claim her ksuba. We won't give her any payment until Adam come and testify that it was indeed burnt and it's added away, which will preempt any double charging. Okay, so bottom line is, we had a Mishnah, we had a Brisa, similar kasha on both, and we had two terutzim. Ravo says we issue receipts. Rav Papa disagreed. Manda Masla Brisa, the Manda Amar, the version where we have this discussion pertaining to the Brisa. The Brisa, which seems to be speaking about a case where she had a ksuba, right? It speaks about her losing the ksuba, right? That's what we figured. There was a ksuba in the equation. And still, Rav Papa disagrees. He says we're speaking about a place where they have no ksuba. Certainly, it would work on our Mishnah, where we had the same type of kasha. How can we allow it to collect through Edom? Maybe she'll produce the ksuba tomorrow. Her Ravo says, her Papa says, it's a makom she'ein kois ksuba. Don't worry about a ksuba. There is no ksuba on the scene. So certainly on the Mishnah, this would work. But according to the version where they applied their discussion to the Mishnah, but it wouldn't work on the Brisa kikusha as our kasha, because the Brisa seems to indicate pretty clearly that there was a ksuba on the scene. In fact, the Brisa speaks about her losing the ksuba, misplacing the ksuba. So it's kind of hard to say that Brisa is speaking about a makom she'ein kois ksuba. So perhaps this discussion, between Rabbi Vo and Rav Papa, who maintained that there is no ksuba in this makom, did not pertain to the Brisa, which seemed to indicate otherwise. Fine. Let's go back to the Mishnah. She claims she was a psula, she's deserving of full payment. She brings Edom that there was, all the psula related activities at the wedding, and she's on top, she wins. Says the Gemara, 1 second. We addressed the possibility of her producing the ksuba tomorrow, collecting again. We answered that. Receipt, no ksuba, fine. We have another kasha. Let's be concerned that she might double charge in any case. Dilma mapka ede hinuma b'hai beidina v'gavi. Perhaps today she's producing the edem regarding her canopy, her veil, to prove that she's a basula. Today she's doing it in this bezdin v'gavi, collecting her ksuba, and tomorrow she'll do the same thing again in the bezdin in the next town. V'hadar mapka ede hinuma, and again she'll produce the same type of edem, but beidin achrin in a different bezdin v'gavi, and collect again. Says the Gemara. And we can't get out of this. You can't say, Rav Papa's teretz, but Mokim Shein Kois from Ksuba was speaking that there's no Ksuba in this town. Forget about Ksuba. Skip Ksuba. She won't produce Ksuba because there was never a Ksuba written. Fine, granted. But Edehi Numa are sufficient to give her Ksuba payment. She might produce 2 Edom today, another 2 Edom tomorrow, and double charge. But Mokim delay F Shavada Kasfin and Shaver, says the Gemara, even according to Rav Papa, when you're left with no choice, you're against the wall, you issue a receipt. You give it a receipt. Why? Why is it like Efsha? Because you can't insist that she produces the ksuba. She has no ksuba. She has no ksuba. It wasn't written. And there's a very real chance that she might double charge. In this case, you have no way out. You have to issue a receipt. This is in contrast to the typical classic case of a Balchayv. 2 people owing each other money, where certainly there was a ishtar written. In that case, don't pay until the fellow produces the ishtar. So what are these simanim of a besula's marriage? Havir l'fanei koshel psura. Back to the brisa, we had a glass being presented before her. My koshel psura. What does this mean that they passed a koshel psura before her? Omar of Adabar avakos yain shel truma. Mavir l'fanei. They would pass through a kos of yain containing yain of truma. Why would they pass that before her? Kalaymar, which sends the following message: Ru'uya isazu lechel betruma. This isha married as a besula, and had she have married a kohen, she would have been entitled to have truma. So that's the message they're sending. She was a besula. Maskav l'Rav Papa avakash atu almona miloi achla betruma. What do you mean? The only wife of a kohen that eats truma is if she married him as a besula. Let's say she was an almana. She could marry an ordinary kohen, a kohen hadid. Why can't she eat truma? So what does truma have to do with besula? Ella Rav Papa, he explained it as follows. There is meaning behind this minig. Zu reishis ketruma. Zu reishis ketruma reishis. Zu reishis. She is reishis. Rashi says, bilosa reishis. This is her first interaction with a man. Just like truma, which is the reishis, the first separation from the crop. Ta'anya Rabbi Yehuda. He had a different simon that they would do by the marriage of a besula. Chavish shal yain mavir l'faneo. They would pass a barrel filled with wine before her. Amar of Adabar Ava. I'll explain to you further. By a besula, mavir l'faneo stuma. It was a closed, a sealed barrel of wine, just like the isha is sealed. Be'ula, if she was ready. Be'ula mavir l'faneo. We would pass before her a pchusa, a psucha, an opened barrel of wine, which corresponded to her situation. asks the Gemara, why do they have to make a siman by the besula and by the bula? One is enough. The aver kami besula, let them do the siman by the besula, closed barrel. The kami bula the aver klab, but by the bula, don't make any siman at all. Why do you have to do a siman by both? Just make a siman by the besula, and by default, you know that everybody else is a non-besula. Answers the Gemara, it was meant to address a concern. Zimnan, we're concerned that perhaps, you know what might happen? The tafsa must sign. Let's say he divorced her, and she somehow had access to his funds. She grabbed 200, claiming that she was a besula. V'amran, she says, I'm not besula avoy, I was a besula when I married. And when we confront her, she'll say, well, I was a besula. What do you mean besula? What happened to the barrel of wine that they were meant to be featured at your wedding? What happened to the closed barrel of wine, which we don't remember at your wedding? She'll say, what do you mean? You know why? They didn't pass the barrel around? It was like a question of aynus. They were aynus, they were drunk, those men. They were overdrunk at the wedding. Says Rashi. And they never got around to it. And that explains the absence of the simon. So in this case, you can't force her to repay. So unless you know for a fact that she was a bula, how do you know for a fact that she's a bula? Because look, we remember the barrel at your wedding. It was an unsealed barrel. So that would disprove her case and compel her to return the money. Okay, let's do a chazara on today's daf. We started with the Mishnah. She claims, look, I deserve a full ksuba. I was a besula when I married. He disagrees. He says you're an almana. So we have bari against bari. If she can't prove her case, then he wins. If she proves her case by way of Edim that will speak about the hinuma, the Rosh Parua, the chiluk loyes, an assortment of other simanim which we have on the Amud Beis in the Brisa, that will prove her claim, and she'll get Masayim Zuz. The Gemara asked the Kasha, well, evidently she has no ksuba to show for herself, otherwise this wouldn't be an issue. So then why are we not concerned about double payment? Today she'll bring the Edom, tomorrow she'll bring the ksuba. We have to tirutzim, either we issue receipts, or we're speaking that in this makom they would not write a ksuba to begin with. Okay, back to Amar Aleph. The Gemara sought to explain Rabbi Yeshua's point of reference. Rabbi Yeshua says, I agree in the case of a pesha asar, pesha yitter, he's ne'eman to hold on to the property. What was Rabbi Yeshua's reference point? What was he referring to? The answer is he's referring back to the first parak. We had an example of a disagreement between the Isha and the Isha, a case where the Isha actually had a migu on her side. Still, Rabbi Yeshua disagreed with Rabbi Gamliel. He says, no, even in that case, she can't force him to pay full payment. That's over there. But in our case, says Rabbi Yeshua, here there's a much stronger migu. I never had to volunteer anything in this case. I just totally stepped forward. I was the one who acknowledged the whole thing. Pesha asa, pesha hit, in which case, all agree it's a stronger ne'emanus, and he is ne'eman. All the best to you, and hatzlacha rabba.